today we are discussing a very interesting topic, that is the how the negotiation and the leadership are important. Now you see, in most of the leadership positions, so you have to do the negotiation, and negotiation maybe with the internal stakeholders, maybe with the external stakeholders, and therefore in that case this is becoming the very important function of the leader also, and the leader has to see that is the negotiation is done in such a way so that it is a win-win situation is there. So, in the we will talk about the negotiation process, and it is a plan, negotiations, postponement, agreement or no agreement, negotiation styles, negotiation tips for the leaders, research papers, case study, book recommendation and references are there. So, therefore, in that case we will be having these all understanding about the role of negotiator of a leader, right. So, first is the negotiation. So, here something the other wants, an attempt to come to an agreement, and therefore, in that case there are the two or more parties are there, right. Can there be the single person can have the negotiation? Yes, there can be the, that is called intrapersonal role, and whenever there is an intrapersonal role, and there can be the negotiations also. And in the intrapersonal role, for example, role of a son is a role of a son and as a role of a husband, right. So, if a person has to negotiate these two roles, so then we will say that it is the intrapersonal negotiation. There will be the interpersonal negotiation also. So, that is a negotiation between the two roles are there, right. Two or more parties are there in the interpersonal negotiation is there, right. So, always it is the process, the one role, right, that wants an attempt to come to an agreement. So, one role wants to negotiate with another role, and there has to be an agreement is required. Ultimately, the negotiation has to end into an agreement. We negotiate to secure a more favorable outcome, right. So, therefore, in that case everybody wants to gain more, right. And so, negotiating is an essential career skill, and I would like to share with you that is the our alumni, right, is those who have passed out the MBA and joined the organizations, students, whenever they meet me. So, they always share that is this negotiation is a very important topic, because as soon as we join the organization, and organization gives us to make the presentations to the clients, the proposals, and then the clients has to reach to an agreement, and that is our responsibility. So, therefore, in that case it is becoming the good negotiators get more favorable outcomes such as more pay. So, who are the good negotiators? So, they are winning. So, that particular skill of their negotiation, that is creating them more opportunities in the career growth. Negotiation is a fact of life. People negotiate daily, often without considering it a negotiation. So, that is our in routine life also we are having these type of the practices, and therefore, in that case always we talk about it is the to go or not to go, to do or not to do, to take risk, not to take risk. So, whenever we are into the dilemma, so whenever there is a dilemma, there are the two issues are there, and then we have to negotiate with one, and that is why. So, that time we are not knowing theoretically that we are negotiating ourselves, right, as I have given the example of the intrapersonal role. So, but every day we are negotiating either intrapersonal or the interpersonal is there. Negotiation occurs in organizations including businesses, non-profits, and within and between governments, as well as in sales and legal proceedings, and in personal situations such as the marriage, divorce, parenting, etc. also. Professional negotiators are often specialized, such as union negotiator, leverage buyout negotiator, peace negotiator. So, therefore, these professional negotiations also and they are having the high scope, and as a result of which the scope of this negotiation and negotiator, that is becoming the more demanding nowadays. Any method of negotiation may be judged by three criteria: should produce the wise agreement if it is possible, and yes, it is written if, because every negotiation may not reach to an agreement, you know. So, negotiation fails also, but the purpose, the objective is that it should reach to an agreement, should be efficient, right. So, that is the you can count on it, and should improve or at least not damage the relationship between the parties. This is another very important point is there. I remember when I was the HR executive in the first in the Hukumchand Mill, then Shriram Group, and then JK Files. So, then I have realized that is whenever you are negotiating, no. So, ultimately what happens during negotiation, there will be the conflicts, but that negotiation has to an end, right. So, an agreement will be there. Sometimes it is more stretchable, sometimes it is less. So, but one day that has to be there. However, whatever type of these expenses you are having during negotiation, positive or negative, but that will end, and after that the routine life starts. When routine life starts, again you are with your own people. So, in that case, that is the we have to ensure that these are the people, these are the employees, those with whom we have to again work, maybe today, maybe tomorrow. As soon as negotiation will be over, then we have to work with these people only. So, we should not spoil the relationship or damage the relationship with the parties, because till we will be working in the organization, they will be the part of our organization, we are also the part of our organization, and therefore, a team effectiveness will be there whenever we are having this relationship with the parties, and we do not damage the relationship with the parties is there. So, there will be the negotiation process. So, we will be having the plan, research the other party, and therefore, in that case first we should know about the other party, details of the other party. Then the set objectives, what are the different objectives are there, how we will go proceed for this negotiation. Try to develop the options and trade-offs. This is the beauty are the, I will say, the soul of the negotiation process. That is the how much you are able to make the options and the trade-offs. An effective negotiator will be able to create the maximum options, and getting the best trade-off will be there, and anticipate the questions and objections and prepare the answers, right. So, naturally here whatever these queries will be there by the other party, what will be the objections by the other parties, and how the answers will be prepared, right. So, therefore, in that case you will find that is the whenever we are having the planning for the negotiation, we have to do the research, we have to set the objectives, we have to create the options as much as possible. If we are developing the questions, what will be anticipating the questions, what will be the questions, and what will be the issues of conflict, or here it is mentioned about the objections, and accordingly we prepare ourselves. So, if our homework and preparation is satisfactory, then there will be no problems. Develop rapport and focus on obstacles, not the person, right. And now what happens actually whenever there is a negotiation, no? So, we focus on the person. So, that is very wrong. So, what is required? So, we have to develop the rapport and the actually the task which we are doing, the issues which are into the negotiation, we have to focus on that. Simple example I would like to give you, that is when we are going to buy a particular item, suppose the t-shirts you want to buy. You enter the shop and then you ask for a particular t-shirt, and the person's behavior, he is reluctant to show. So, what mood you will make? You will make the mood that is no, I will not buy from here, because his behavior is not proper. Shopkeeper's behavior is, salesman's behavior is not proper. So, you spoil the mood and then you do not want to buy. But when you see the t-shirts, you see the price, you see the quality, and then you think that is the no, this is the reasonable and I should buy. Many times the people, those who are more egoistic, because they have made up their mind on the basis of the behavior of the salesperson, that I will not buy anything from here, right. So, I will just finish the formality and I will go away. But when object is worth buying, in spite of that the person is not buying that particular object, right. So, then in that case the person is focusing on the person rather than the object. So, therefore, what is important is that is the one should not focus, not the person, right, and otherwise also. So, if the behavior of the person is very positive, now I take another example. If the behavior of the person is very positive, and then you find that is the price he is asking is too high, but because that person's behavior is positive, we should not accept that particular object if that object is not acceptable. But you are the regular buyer of that particular shop, and that is why because of that reason, if you are buying that, even you knowing that this is not worth, then the negotiation is not done properly. Let the other party make the first offer. So, do not disclose your offer, let the other party make the first offer. Listen and ask questions to focus on meeting the other party's needs. So, therefore, in that case we have to listen what other party is saying, let him talk, let him come forward, and then ask the questions, right. So, that we can focus on the other party's needs, that what is the need of that particular person or the party. Do not be too quick to give in and ask for something in return. So, therefore, in that case, that is the not necessarily that is the offer is made and immediately you are saying yes, it is too quick. So, do not be too quick and ask for something in return, and therefore, in that case it is not that is you are negotiating without asking something, you ask for in return something is there, right, and this is the era of the return gift itself, right. So, therefore, that is also that is they ask for something in return. Other party is postponing, and you may create the urgency, right. So, you want to postpone and the other party may create urgency. So, that type of the postponement may be situation may be there, that is the other party is postponing, and then you show that is there is an urgency, or you want to postpone and the other party may create the urgency is there. So, negotiation there can be the postponement may be there. Then when we come over this particular situation, there will be the agreement to close the deal, or there will be no agreement, find out why for future that negotiations is there, right. So, therefore, here these agreement, right, and no agreement, that we have to understand, that is in the case after going through this particular whole process, there will be the agreement will be there, or there will be no agreement, that will be decided, that is what will be the future line of action will be there. So, in planning, how we have to do the best planning is there. To develop a plan, know what is the negotiable and what is not. Research the other party, put yourself in the other party's shoes, try to find out what the other parties want. So, your practical experience that will pay you here, right. So, you are in the experience, you know that if I would be in the place of the other party, what will be my demand and when I will be happy, and what they will and will not be willing to give up, and where you will not accept the proposal, right, and what you will not accept. Before you negotiate, find out their personality traits and negotiation style by networking with people who have negotiated with the other party before. So, have the full information. Whenever you will have the full information about the personality of the persons and the negotiation style, that is the how they proceed, what they want, how do they negotiate, right. Once you are clear, then in that case you will be having that negotiated with the other party, that who have negotiated with the other party, what were their demand, how the negotiation was completed, or there were the obstacles and the negotiation was not completed, then why negotiation was not completed. So, all this research has to be done. Then the set objectives, follow steps A, B and C, set a specific lower limit and be willing to walk away, right. So, therefore, in that case make the minimum offer and go away. Set a target objective of what you believe is a fair deal, and therefore, in that case whatever the belief is there, that is this much I will be accepting. So, that will be the fair deal, and set an opening objective offer that is higher than you expect. So, whatever you are expecting, right. So, then in that case definitely there will be the offers, because what is done, you have started with the lowest limit. So, other person will be started with the highest limit is there, which is natural. In step 3, try to develop the options and trade offs. If you have other offers, it is common practice to quote other offers and to ask if the other party can beat them. So, naturally you would like to say who can give the best. If you have to give up something or cannot get exactly what you want, be prepared to ask for something else in return. So, suppose in negotiation, if you are not able to get the A, right, then you can opt for, that is the okay, I will get the B, but in return what I will get, is it also the C will be there helpful, right. So, that is the additional negotiation will be there. Anticipate questions and objections and the prepare answers. So, whenever you are prepared when preparation is there for the your negotiation, what is in for me, do not focus on what you want, but on how your deal will benefit the other party. So, it is not like that is the you are focusing towards self, rather than in negotiation you will focus on the other, that what other will gain, that is to be convinced to the other person. Then the negotiation process starts. After we have planned, we are now ready to negotiate the deal. Face to face negotiations are generally preferred because you can see the other person's non-verbal behavior and better understand the objections is there, and therefore, this is very interesting, non-verbal behavior, the body language. So, the smart negotiators they also observe the body language, and therefore, in that case they talk about the non-verbal behavior also they observe. For example, the hand movements, right, and then in hand movements whether the person is in a hurry or not in a hurry, that you some people they judge, and therefore, on basis of this non-verbal behavior also you can understand the better the demands of the person and better understand the objections of the person, that is why the person will be having these objections. Develop the rapport and focus on obstacles, not the person, that I mentioned, that is the needs to trust us. Smile and call the other party by name as you greet them. Deciding on how much time to wait until you get down to business depends on the other party's style. Let the other party make the first offer, and this usually gives you the advantage, because if the other party offers you more than your target objectives, you can close the agreement also, right. So, therefore, you will be able to understand the real situation. Listen and ask questions to focus on meeting the other party's needs, create an opportunity for the other party to disclose the reservations and objections. When you speak, you give out information, but when you ask questions and listen, you receive information that will help you overcome the other party's objection is there, and therefore, in that case you will be able to receive the information which you want from the other party's objections are there. Do not be too quick to give in and ask for something in return. So, those who ask for more get more, be persistent, do not just give up, right. So, therefore, sometimes what we offered and the person is not ready, so they close the negotiation. Do not make haste in closing the negotiation. If our competitive advantage is service and during negotiation we quickly give in for a lower price, we lose all the value in a minute. We want to satisfy the other party without giving up too much during the negotiation. Remember not to go below your minimum objective. If it is realistic, be prepared and walk away. So, therefore, in that case we will be having that particular situation where either we can go for negotiation or we can walk away from the negotiation. Take your time. When there does not seem to be any progress, it may be wise to postpone the negotiations. The other party is postponing and you must create urgency. So, I will get back to you. When we are not getting what we want, we may try to create urgency. I have another job offer pending. When will you let me know if you want to offer me the job? But what if urgency does not apply or does not work and the other party says, I will think about it. You might say that is a good idea. Then at least review the major features the other party liked about our proposal deal and ask if it meets their needs are there. Second situation is you want to postpone and the other party may create the urgency. So, do not be hurried by others and do not hurry yourself. If you are not satisfied with the deal or want to shop around, tell the other party you want to think about it. You may also need to check with your manager or someone else, which simply may be for advice. Before you can finalize the deal, if the other party is creating urgency, be sure it really is urgent. In many cases, we can get the same deal at a later date, right? And therefore, do not be pursued into making a deal you are not satisfied. So, do not make the haste, right? And therefore, before finalizing the deal, right, it is always see that is what is urgent and what can be done. May regret. So, therefore, if you are making any deal in the urgency, then you may regret later. If we do not want to postpone, give the other party a specific time that will get back to them. So, therefore, in that case if you can't wait and you are having already the demand for your product, then you can say that is okay. Either you decide by this particular date, otherwise say bye bye. In the situation when there is an agreement or not agreement, once the agreement has been made, restate it and put it in writing when appropriate is there. It is common to follow up an agreement with a letter of thanks, restarting the agreement to ensure the other parties have not changed their mind and about what they agreed to. So, you are reminding actually thanks for the following agreement. So, therefore, that agreement they should not have any confusion. Many times what happens, that is the when after some break when you are going for the agreement, the people say no, that time it was decided, not this decided, right. So, therefore, it is always better that you have the copy of that, and if you do not have the copy, so then please keep in mind what they have agreed to. No agreement. Our goal is to come to an agreement, but rejection, refusal or failure happen to us all, even the superstars. The difference between the also rans and the superstars lies in how they respond to the failure. The successful people keep trying, learn from their mistakes and continue to work hard. Failures usually do not persevere. When there is no agreement, analyze the situation, try to determine what went wrong to improve in the future. So, therefore, in that case, okay, this time we could not negotiate, but we will like to negotiate in the future. So, this is a beautiful figure which will be making the easy understanding, and their wants and needs and our wants and needs are there. So, I lose, you lose, so avoid is there. You win, I lose, right. So, accommodate is there. So, I win, you lose, compete is there. I win, you win, collaboratory is there. And when I win some, you win some, I lose some, you lose some, so compromise is there. So, therefore, avoid, accommodation, compete, collaboration and compromise that can be used in the negotiation styles is there. It reflects a withdrawal from a neglect of any party's interest. So, therefore, both the parties are in the mode of the losing. So, most often referred to as the passive aggressiveness. We habitually use this style when we really dislike conflict. Rather than talk directly to the others about the issues, we may instead try to take revenge without others knowing is there. To avoid style can be a typical reaction to high compete negotiations. When to use, when the value of investing time to resolve the conflict outweighs the benefit, or if the issue under negotiation is trivial to both the parties is there, and then in that case there will be the negotiation style will be there. It reflects a desire to achieve one's own ends at the expense of someone else, and this is the competition is there, and the I win, you lose. This approach is there. So, win lose orientation is there. Competitive style negotiations tend to pursue our own needs, and this is true even when the result is that others may suffer, right. So, therefore, in that case I am not bothered about others, I am concerned with my achievement of the goal. So, I win. This kind of negotiation often uses whatever power and tactics we have, including the personality, position, economic status, brand strength or size and market share, then definitely in that case because the I am on the upper hand side. So, therefore, in that case I will, because of my personality or my position, right, or my economic threats, economic strength and others economic threats are there. So, therefore, in that case that is I win and you lose attitude may be there. When we need to act or get results quickly, this negotiation style can be useful when we buy or sell something as a one off is there. Third one is that I lose you win, very interesting. It reflects a mirror image of competition, entirely giving in to the someone else concern without making any effort to achieve one's own ends, and this is a tactics of the appeasement is there. For accommodating style negotiations, the relationship is everything. Accommodating profiles win people over and give people what they want. When to use the I lose you win? When we our company are at fault, repairing the relationship is critical. We can also take this approach when we have nothing else. What would benefit the other party? It is a gift to the rebuild bridges are there. So, therefore, in that case, in this situation, we can make the use of this negotiation style. I lose and win some and you lose win some, right. So, it is an approach that represents a compromise between the domination and the appeasement is there. Both parties give up something, yet both parties get something, and both parties are moderately but incompletely satisfied. So, therefore, in that case compromise often involves one or more both settings for less than we want to need. This can result in an end position of the roughly halfway between the both sides are opening the positions are there, right. And when this approach is to be used, when we are pushed for time and we are dealing with someone who we trust, it also needs to be clear what it would not be in the other side's interest for them to win, achieve victory. Both sides win and lose, make sure we win the right things and lose the right things are there. And finally, I win, you win. It reflects an effort to fully satisfy both parties. This is a strategy which is the more sustainable strategy is there. This is a problem solving approach that requires the integration of each party's concern. We often confuse win-win or collaboration with compromise. However, these two styles are distinct from each other. Win-win is about making sure both sides have needs or goals met while creating as much mutual value as time and resources allow. When to use? The collaboration and partnerships are the primary styles which we should use for the most goals in business to business negotiations are there. So, there are certain tips for leaders. Prepare well for the negotiation, that is your plan. So, resolve the conflicts. Leader may need to spend considerable time in preparation for the negotiation, and the leader should anticipate each side's key concern, both the sides, that what is their expectation, what they will be like to gain, what they will be ready to lose. Attitudes, possible negotiation strategies and goals are there. Separate the people from the problem. Always that is always to be done. Negotiations involve substantive issues and relationship between the negotiators. So, it is easy for these parts to become entangled. When that happens, leaders may inadvertently treat the followers and the problems as though they were the same, which is not to be done. Separate the people from the problems are there. Leaders can do several things to separate the people from the problem is there. Focus on the interest and not the positions, more constructive to satisfy interest than to fight over the positions. Furthermore, it is important to focus both on your followers' interest and on your own interest, and not like this, that is we are focusing only on the self interest. Say Ram has had the same reserved seats to the local symphony even season for several years, but he was just notified that he will no longer get his usual tickets. Feeling irritated, he goes to the ticket office to complain. One approach he could take would be to demand the same seats he has always had, this would be in his position. A different approach would be to find alternative seats that are just as satisfactory as his old seats where this would be his interest is there. they got a good deal. So, therefore, this belief is required. So, often a zero sum game in which the one party's gain is the other party's loss. For example, every dollar less that you pay for a car is your gain and the seller's loss, but it does not have to be an I win and you lose negotiation. Leaders should not take advantage of others. It is about the building relationships and helping each other get what we want, because once you can get this particular strategy successful, but believe me, it will be a short term strategy, it will not be long term strategy. To get what we want, we have to sell our ideas and convince the followers to give us what we want. However, negotiation should be viewed by all the parties as an opportunity for everyone to win, and when possible make the pie larger than the fight over how to split it. Focus on the obstacle and not the person. As I mentioned, it is the always understand it is what is the issue is there, concern with the issue, so that the negotiator, if he is having that follower is becoming defensive, we may end up arguing and it will be harder to reach an agreement is there. So, therefore, don't be argumentative in this your negotiation, rather than the focus on the issues rather than the person is concerned. These are the research papers, model for effective negotiation skill development. This paper is to develop an initial model from an intra-organizational perspective is there. The development of negotiation skill and behavior. As usual, there is this design and methodology approach, and the findings are there, right. These are the original values and practical implications. This is the case study. Indian labor unions are there, and therefore, changes in state and the national labor laws and private sector jobs are there. So, therefore, in that case always labor union negotiation has their own plus and minuses. On the positive side, negotiating is a collective. Unionized workers are able to earn on average roughly 15% more than their non-union counterparts are there, right. So, therefore, always if there is a union, then there will be the more gain will be there. Public sector unions at times have been able to negotiate employment arrangements that are hard to sustain, and therefore, in that case many times the public union state unions, they are facing the problem in the completion of the negotiation is there. These are the questions on this particular case study. This is negotiating in the leadership zone, right. So, this is the book which is recommended, and it helps you to understand how to be a good negotiator. This is all about this negotiation and leadership. Thank you.